everything you sold them, they were buying. I left East Texas and I come back to Pilot Point, my hometown. It's going to be a homecoming. It's going to be great. I know the kids here, the parents have more money, they have more to work with. And then I come back in here, and it's true, they do have more money. And we're going to get into a lot of this actually in the sermon. But there's so many men, so many fathers out there trying to earn so much money that they neglect their kids. They're not there for their kids, you know? And I understand that. I did it myself when I lived right here. I told y'all. I started this little T-shirt shop. I became a fireman. I always wanted to be one. And the 2 days off was a blessing. It was just a bonus. It'll give me more time to spend with my family. How many firemen we got in here? Or retired. Those 2 days off don't give you more time. You occupy that time with something else. Mine was a T-shirt shop. And I've already told y'all the stories of Kelsey wanting to do this and Kyle wanting to do that. Just give me a few more minutes. You know, a few more minutes at 2:30 in the afternoon become 11 o'clock p.m. You know, my schedule at the fire department, I've got 2 days to do whatever I want to do. The district track meet rolls around. It just happens to land on the 24 hours I'm at the fire station. Luckily, I had a wife that held things together. But it's not those kids' fault most of the time. Sometimes you just get a bad kid. I do understand that. But most of the time, whatever the kid's doing, it's a direct reflection to what's going on in that house. And I've told you time and time again on this. It's not what they hear, it's what they see. And yet we continue to say, do as I say, not as I do. Do as I say, not as I do. I would say you need to read 4 times a week and start changing what you're doing. I will say Brother Mike really encouraged me to be a lot more honest. Not only with y'all, but with myself. Carol going through the cancer deal. God's got my attention. Hey, I need you to change your attitude on a lot of things. You know, but listening to Adrian Rogers, he told 2 stories of how Satan is in battle against the family. And I'm going to mention 2 names, and it's just because he used them, and the stories are appropriate, I think. He talked about a woman named Gloria Steinem. Anybody ever heard of Gloria Steinem? She's one of the leading voices for the feminist group. And the other person was a man named John Paul Getty. Anybody heard of John Paul Getty? One of the richest men in America. They said he was worth over $4 billion when a dollar was worth something. John Paul Getty. Steinem said that, and this is her quote, marriage has existed for the benefits of men. It is legalized, sanctioned control of women. And when asked about a family and raising kids, she said that children should not be the sole responsibility of a family, but should become the responsibility of society. You think Satan's not in battle for the family? And I'll tell you, if you think that way, I don't know anybody in Minnesota, but I guarantee you we can find you a realtor. Because Minnesota seems so far out there right now with the family stuff, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And to think that we we didn't almost. God had all that under control. But we had a man standing before us wanting to be the vice president of our United States. Thank God that didn't happen. John Paul Getty was worth over $4 billion, like I said, when a dollar really was worth something. And he said in all of his things, everything he ever done, he never envied anything except those who had a successful marriage. But he didn't have time to put into a successful marriage. So he had 5 unsuccessful marriages. And out of those, he had 5 sons. And if you go on and read his story, the story of his sons are as tragic as all get out. Most of them died early, and a couple by suicide. You know, so she says raising kids should be part of society. He's out earning a living, just like I tried to make extra money in that t-shirt shop so that you can pay for a nanny. Let somebody else raise your kid. I got a nanny to raise my kids. I've earned enough money I can pay somebody else. Or I've raised enough money that I can send them to private school. Somebody else can raise my kids. Or I've raised enough money now, I got private baseball coaching. I've got private tutoring. I got private football this. I got private athletic this. I've raised enough, I've earned enough money that I'm not raising my kids anymore. Society is. So it's not men, it's not just women that are trying to sell this to you. This is exactly what we do. We want to earn a little more money so that somebody else can raise our kids. That's not feminist. That's Satan. And he's in battle against the family. You know, and in my fondest memories of my parents, I told Carol when we were going on vacation with Kelsey and Zane and the family, we went to South Padre, and I said, you know, I can remember my mom and dad, they saved for a year to go to Galveston for a weekend. And that was our big vacation. And we'd stay in a hotel or a motel that had a swimming pool. My gosh, they were so happy when we got in that swimming pool. And now that they're gone, standing behind this pulpit, I will tell you, my favorite times with my mom and dad were sitting in a porch swing that was hanging in a back tree, throwing the baseball or throwing the football with my dad. He poured a 15 by 15 concrete slab by hand and put a basketball goal on it so that we could play. We cooked hot dogs, we cooked hamburgers on the grill outside, and we ate outside. It was just another day in the life of the Lynns. And those mean more to me than any vacation I ever took with my parents. Because I know what it cost them. It cost them time away from us. And now as a dad, I know it hurts just as bad on this side as it did on the other side. But yet, that's what society tells you need to do. You need to do all of these things for your kids. Psalm 127. Starting in verse 1. And I don't know why I'm not covering the rest of it, but it says, unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain who build it. Unless the Lord guards the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. It is vain for you to rise up early, to sit up late, to eat the bread of sorrows. For so he gives his beloved sleep. There is sermon there. You know, whatever you're doing, if you don't include the Lord, if he's not in charge of it, it's going to fail. Everything you're doing is in vain. Getty said it. It says, it is vain for you to rise up early and sit up late. Moms, dads, how many of us get up early? I got to get to work early. I got to stay late and earn a little bit more and do a little bit more. And it says, then to eat the bread of sorrows. You never get to enjoy that stuff. You cannot replace the time that you missed. Verse 3, it says, behold, children are a heritage from the Lord. The fruit of the womb is a reward, like arrows in the hand of a warrior. So are the children of one's youth. And happy is the man who has his quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but shall speak with their enemies in the gate. Verse 3, it says, children are a heritage from the Lord. I told y'all I'm pretty black and white. I have to study almost everything that I look up words. The word heritage, it means something that's chosen of value. And right here it says, behold, the children are a heritage from God. Children are something that God values, and He has given it to you. He has placed it in your care. He has given it to you. And it says, the fruit of the woman is a reward. I don't know how many people I've talked to that says, we're trying to get pregnant. And I'm like, well, I thought just a month ago y'all were talking about separating and getting a divorce. Well, we think a child will make us stronger, make us better. I can assure you one thing. All a child does is take more responsibility. The time that we've been talking about, it takes more time away from the spouse that you need to be trying to fix your relationship with. That's what you need to do. Not worry about a child until you got your own stuff right. And I've heard it time and time and time again. And I have said those things to them time and time and time again. A child doesn't fix your problems. But if you're good with your marriage, a child is a blessing like no other. I can assure you of that. Deuteronomy 7:13. And I don't even know, this is written over in the side of my notes. Deuteronomy 7:13. It's talking, and He will give you, and He will love you, bless you, and multiply you. He will also bless the fruits of your womb and the fruit of your land, your grain and your new wine and your oil, and increase your cattle, the offspring of your flock, in the land of which He swore to your fathers to give you. God will bless you. If you're doing what you're supposed to do, God will bless you. And this is a gift. Every child is a gift of God. Who has a child in here? Are they not a gift? Have you ever received anything better than a child? Anything? The only thing I used to think, with me and Carol, I'm like, oh my gosh, my kids are the most important thing. I can assure you, without Carol, I wouldn't have my kids. So Carol is one step above my kids, and she will stay that way. And I hope when my kids get old enough, they see that, and they do the same thing. Verse 4, back in Psalm 127, and I don't know why this one little passage right here just sticks out to me. It says, like arrows in the hand of a warrior, so are the children of one's youth. And this is so delicate, and yet it's so masculine and powerful. To me, I don't know, maybe I interpret it different, but at the same time, there's so much responsibility in this one little scripture. It says, it's like arrows in the hand of a warrior. And I can picture the guy just drawing back this bow. And I guess maybe it's my Native American heritage that I just love it. So I looked up, what does it take? What do you seek when you go to look at an arrow? And it says arrow. you have to have a very good arrow to start with. It has to have the proper spine. And this is archery terms. I'm not familiar with all of them, but it says proper spine. That tells me you got to teach your kid to have a little backbone too. And it has to have the proper stiffness. If you get it too stiff or too flexible, it will not fly straight. It says it has to have the proper length, the proper weight, and the proper straightness, all of which determine the consistency. Now, just like these arrows, our kids are the same way. They're going to do a little bit of right. They're going to do a little bit of wrong. But we hope that we're there to mold them in a way, and we've inspected and taught and set the example so that there's consistency. The little bit of wrong gets less and less and less and less. The little bit of right gets more and more and more and more. And then they stay consistent right there. They stay straight. They see you reading your Bible a minimum of 4 times a week. It will change your life. I would say I promise, but the book says let your yeses be yes and your noes be no. Will it change your life? Yes. It says, I got a note here. It says fathers and grandfathers. We're the ones that are responsible for this. The stiffness and the straightness in this arrow of molding what they're coming into. It talks about, I read some more on arrows, and it talks about the shaft. And it said if it's too stiff, it's very dangerous. Has anybody ever let go of an arrow and it exploded? Shane, have you seen it or heard it? Seen it. Not very pleasant. If it's too stiff, it's dangerous. If it's too soft, there's too much flex, it's inaccurate. They're never going to hit the mark that you want them to. You've got to stay on the kids. You've got to stay on them. You've got to be the one. You're responsible for molding them. So if they're the right stiffness and right weight and they're straight enough, they're going to be a lot more accurate. But then when you start doing a little more research on arrows, those that are a lot more accurate are a lot more expensive. You know, I thought about going into archery a couple of years ago, and I went down to Walmart and you priced some arrows. I think they were, I don't know, $4, $5, $6. And then you start looking up good arrows, and my gosh, I thought, I'm not going to be an archer. It says if you get those that are more accurate and straighter, they're more expensive. And my question to you is this. If it's your desire, which doesn't matter one hill of beans, if you have a child, it's your responsibility. If you want your kids to stand strong for the right things, they are more expensive. What that means is it's going to cost you a little bit more of your time. You can pay somebody else to do what you think you're earning money for, but you ought to be the one there. I've told you all, I think before, I had an older gentleman at the fire station that I worked with when Kyle was probably 4 or 5 years old, and he was a lot like Charlotte. It was question after question after question after question. He'd say, Dad, why does your truck do this? Dad, why does the lawnmower do that? Why is the sky blue? Well, how does that make it happen? And what about this? What about that? What about this? So I made the comment one day at the fire station. I said, oh my gosh, I wish he would just hush with the questions. And he said, let me tell you this. And I took it to heart from that day forward. He said, that little boy is going to continue to ask questions. My question to you is, are you going to be the one to answer them? Or do you want somebody else to answer them? Because when somebody else answers them, it may not be the answer that you want your son to have. And I can tell you, he still wore me out. But I tried to answer everything I could. You know, it's not just time, it's quality time. You know, I know a lot of dads. I've seen and talked to a lot more athletes that come from other towns, and just the way they were treated. And I think we all know that that's why we all love GA so much. He was successful. He is a good man. But he never talked down to us as players. And that's the way a father should be. You know, you should explain it. If you're getting on to your son or your daughter, your kids, explain it to them. Because I said so is the weakest reason ever. If because I said so is your answer, that tells me that you're a weak person. And I'll say it right here because I've been that. I didn't know how to control my own emotions, so I don't know why. Because I said so. I feel like I matured. I've told y'all I think I did, being a parent. There came a time in my life where I would send Kyle to his room for an hour, and I would go cool off and come back, and started understanding what my mom said when she says, it hurts me worse than it hurts you. Because after an hour of cooling off, I no longer wanted to discipline him. But I also told him I'm a man of my word. So his anticipation of me coming back was worse than anything that I was fixing to do to him. But I gave him a swat, only one, after I cooled off. Whereas before, it was more than one. Quality time. Ephesians 6:4. Most of you have heard this. It says, and fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath, but bring them up in training and admonition of the Lord. There's another one of those words, admonition of the Lord. Admonition means authoritative counsel, or someone who gives you warnings, tells you what's going to happen. You need to bring your kids up to read the Bible and understand what God's telling you to do and the consequences if you don't do them. And that's the way we all ought to be. Colossians 3:21. Fathers, do not provoke your children, lest they become discouraged. Now this one here, how many of us, we correct and 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 never praise? You know, I did the same thing with my kids. Kelsey playing soccer, Kelsey doing gymnastics, Kyle playing football, Kyle doing this. Hey, I saw you on your vault. I saw your elbow bend a little bit. You need to straighten that out. You need to straighten that out. Kelsey would. I would tell Kyle, hey, I saw you do this. You didn't plant your foot right. He never would correct it. And he later told me, if you're going to get on to me anyway, why should I correct it? Same kids, same parents, different personalities. We all have to be aware of that. It's like the arrow in the archer's hand. It says you lose control once you turn loose. That's a very scary thought. You can have that arrow aimed right where you want it to go. And the second you release it, it's no longer in your control. I hope and I pray that I've done a good enough job that they will do a good enough job. For you that have young kids, you that haven't had kids yet, set a good example. Set a good example for your kids. Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. Training also includes discipline. You know, Hebrew 12:6. For whom the Lord loves, he chastens and scourges. If the Lord's going to discipline us, why would he expect anything different from us with our kids? I've heard so many people say you don't have to discipline your kids. I'm not telling you have to beat your kids, spank your kids. I don't know what they respond to. Every kid is different. But there has to be some sort of discipline. And when you say it, follow through with it. Be a man be a father, be a mother of your word. I see so many parents, middle school parents, the kids said that they were going to tell their mom and their dad. And their parent would come in the locker room and they would get onto their kids, and I would go out to the parking lot and they're doing right opposite of what they told them. Oh, I'll take care of it. You know, they won't talk like that anymore. They won't be disrespectful. And then they're climbing in the side door of the van saying words that I don't use anymore. And I'm like, wow, boy, that really worked out. Deuteronomy 6 and 7. I've got so many. I told Steve this morning, how are you supposed to come do a sermon with all the information that you've got, especially on something like this? Especially on something like this. And I'm sure God's sitting there going, you're preaching about raising your own kids? How do you think I feel with all of mine? Deuteronomy 6, verses 6 and 7. It says, and these words which I command you today shall be in your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. This is not talking about sitting at the dinner table and discussing it for 20 minutes. This is talking about a lifestyle. This is talking about the example you're setting for your kids. And that's what I'm always saying. It's not do as I say. Because what they're going to do is exactly what they see you doing. And if you don't like them doing it, then you shouldn't do it either. It's a lifestyle. Read your Bible 4 times a week. See what changes. If you don't discipline and set limits, there's always consequences. And I'll try to finish with this one. 1 Samuel 3 and 13. 1 Samuel 3 and 13. Don't have that one marked, but it's a good one. And this is talking to us. God was talking to Eli, I think, the house of Eli. 1 Samuel 3 and 13. It says, for I have told him that I will judge his house forever. I want you to really listen to this. This is not to your kids. This is to you. For I have told him that I will judge his house forever for the iniquities which he knows. Not for the iniquity which he has in his own heart. It's for the iniquity that he knows. Because his sons have made themselves vile. Do you know any vile kids in today's society? Because his sons have made themselves vile, and he did nothing to restrain them. He didn't discipline them. He didn't set limits. He didn't tell them there were consequences. He said they're not going to do this, but when they go out to the van, they're not doing what he told them. So they're going to be judged. So when you get older and you need your kids and they say, I don't have time for you, whose fault is that? It's yours. I sure hope you've got some type of insurance or a government that'll take care of you. And I tell y'all all the time, I come in here and I'm not preaching to anybody. I share what God has poked me in the chest and told me. And you read the Bible more, you get more out of it. I promise you. When you're talking about raising kids, I said I was going to finish there, but I'm going to give you all a few more passages. Proverbs 15:1. I shared this with Steve. A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word turns up anger. Be careful how you respond to your kids. Be careful how you respond to other people. A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word turns up anger. Verse 5 talks about happy is a man that has a full quill of children in his house. You should make your home exactly that, a home. Proverbs 15, you know what? I'm going to open it back up. Proverbs 15, 13 and 15. It says, a merry heart makes a cheerful countenance, but by sorrow of the heart, the spirit is broken. You want to break your kid's spirit? The heart of him who has understanding seeks knowledge, but the mouth of fools feeds on foolishness. All the days of the afflicted are evil, but he who is of a merry heart has a continual feast. I hope my house is the home where my kids like to come. I hope your house is that home. I want my house to be the one that the neighborhood kids like to come to. Not because I let them do anything and everything, because they know they're loved. They know they're cared for. It's about raising kids. It's about being a father. I don't know that being the head of the household, I don't know if there's a greater responsibility. Even as I stand in this pulpit, I don't think there's a greater responsibility than being the head of my household. And I have heard it said before, if you can't lead your own house, how are you ever supposed to lead anybody else? Whether it's on a football field, a church, or anywhere else. If you can't lead your own, you shouldn't desire to lead somebody else. It's the greatest responsibility that we have. I do know that Adrian Rogers said this about being a father, being a preacher. He said, I hope I'm a good preacher. He said, but the fact of the matter, when I leave this pulpit, there will be another preacher. When I leave my family, there won't be another daddy. There won't be. Pray for your kids. Every single day, night and day. I've told y'all how I pray for mine. I pray for my kids and grandkids. I don't care what they've done. They're mine. They belong to me. I'm responsible for them. If I can't pray for my own kids, how's God going to hear any other prayer that I have? I encourage you, take a look at yourself. God will convict you. Read your Bible 4 times a week and see what kind of change it makes. You can make every excuse in the world. I can't get up that early. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm too tired when I come in the afternoon. Don't make excuses. Dear Heavenly Father, we do thank you.